Imagine watching thousands of pigs suddenly race toward their death. That's exactly what happened after Jesus spoke just 3 words to a demon-possessed man. But why did evil spirits beg to enter animals instead of simply leaving? What were they so desperate to avoid? And why did Jesus, who could calm storms with a whisper, allow this mass destruction? Most people read this story and miss the terrifying truth it reveals about what demons fear most. You're about to learn what made Jesus agree to a plea from hell and why it ended in chaos. The demonic man who once scared an entire town to death is now sitting calmly in the marketplace, telling everyone about Jesus. The same people who ran away when they saw him coming are now gathering around to hear him speak. What an amazing turn of events. We need to picture this scene in our minds. Just days before, this man lived among the tombs. His body was covered in scars from the chains that couldn't hold him. His hair was messy and tangled. His eyes showed a scary wildness that didn't belong to him. Everyone knew him as the crazy man possessed by demons, the one no one could tame, the one who screamed day and night, the one parents warned their children about. But now he sits with clear eyes. His wounds are healing. His voice is steady and strong. He wears clean clothes instead of rags. And when he speaks, people listen.
Let me tell you what Jesus did for me,
he says, and the crowd leans in closer. This is the power of a changed life. The people in the Decapolis region didn't need to imagine what Jesus could do. They could see it with their own eyes. The living proof sat right in front of them. The contrast between what this man was and what he had become told a story more powerful than words alone ever could. Think about it. When someone warns you about a dangerous animal, you might believe them. But when someone shows you the scar from where that animal attacked them, the warning hits different. It becomes real. This man's transformation made Jesus real to everyone who saw him. As the former madman traveled through the 10 cities of the Decapolis, his reputation spread like wildfire.
Have you heard? The man from the tomb is healed. He sits and talks like you and me now. No more chains, no more screaming. He says a man named Jesus set him free.
Mark 5:20 tells us,
So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed.
But here's the interesting part. Remember how this man begged to go with Jesus? He pleaded to stay by his Savior's side. But Jesus said no. Why would Jesus turn down such a devoted follower? Because Jesus knew something powerful. This man's testimony would work better in familiar territory. Where people knew what he used to be, they could truly appreciate what he had become. When the townspeople saw him, they couldn't deny the change. This wasn't just a physical healing. It wasn't just a mental healing. It was complete restoration. Body, mind, and spirit. The man who once hosted a legion of demons now hosted the good news about Jesus. We might wonder, did Jesus make a mistake when he let those demons enter the pigs? Was it worth the loss of all those animals? Well, look at the result. One transformed life became a testimony that prepared the entire region for Jesus' future ministry. Before we move on to what happened next in Jesus' journey, we want to know, have you ever seen someone completely transformed by faith? Comment, I want to see the power of Jesus. If you want to see how one person who had legions inside him was completely transformed by Jesus and how devils feared Jesus so much. Now, this amazing story of the healed demoniac teaches us something powerful about Jesus. But there's another incident that happened right before this that reveals even more about his authority. What exactly did Jesus show his disciples when he calmed the storm? The answer will change how you see your own storms in life. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to lose control of your own body? To have your mind taken over by something dark and evil? That's what happened to the man who lived among the tombs. His story shows us just how terrifying demonic possession can be. This wasn't always his life. Once, he had a name. He had a family, friends, and a place in the community. Maybe he was a fisherman or a farmer. Maybe he had children who ran to greet him at the end of the day. We don't know exactly who he was before the darkness came, but we know what happened after. It started small. Strange thoughts that weren't his own. Angry outbursts he couldn't control. His family noticed the change. Something's wrong, they whispered. They tried to help him, but the darkness grew stronger each day. Soon, he wasn't himself anymore. The demons took more and more control. His eyes changed. His voice changed. And his strength, it became superhuman, but not in a good way. When the townspeople tried to help by binding him with chains, he snapped them like they were made of grass. Mark 5:4 tells us,
No one was strong enough to subdue him.
the community tried everything. They put guards around him. They used stronger chains. They even forced him to live apart from everyone else. But nothing worked against the supernatural power that possessed him. Day by day, the demons pushed him further away from help. They drove him to the tombs, a place no living person wanted to be. Think about that choice. Demons forced a living man to live among the dead. They cut him off from everyone who cared about him. They isolated him completely. His days and nights became an endless nightmare. The Bible tells us he would cry out and cut himself with stones. Imagine the pain. Not just physical pain from the cuts and wounds that covered his body, but the deeper pain of having thousands of evil voices screaming inside your head. The demons that called themselves Legion weren't just driving him mad, they were slowly killing him. Each day, his body grew weaker from the cuts and lack of food. Each night, his spirit broke a little more as he screamed in torment. His family likely gave up hope of ever seeing the man they loved again. All they could see was the shell of someone they once knew, now filled with evil. Why would demons want to hurt someone this badly? Because they hate what God loves. God created humans in His own image. We are precious to Him, and evil spirits want to destroy whatever God values. This wasn't just one demon causing trouble. When Jesus asked for their name, they answered, Legion, meaning thousands of demons had crowded into this one man's body and mind. Each one added to his suffering. Each one pushed him further into darkness. Think about the man's isolation. No one to talk to except the voices in his head. No touch except the stones he used to cut himself. No home except the cold tombs. The demons had taken everything from him. His family, his dignity, his very identity. This is what evil looks like when it's not hiding. This is the enemy that Jesus came to defeat. And as we'll see next, this showdown between light and darkness was about to reveal just how powerful our Savior really is. Have you ever wondered why Jesus would cross a dangerous sea just to reach one person? The answer shows us something amazing about how much God cares for people who seem beyond help. Let's set the scene. Jesus had been teaching huge crowds all day. He was probably tired. The sun was setting, and most teachers would head home for a good rest. But instead, Jesus looked across the dark waters of the Sea of Galilee and told his disciples,
Let us go over to the other side.
This wasn't a random decision. Jesus knew exactly who was waiting on that distant shore. He knew about a man living among the tombs, tormented day and night by evil spirits, a man everyone else had given up on. And Jesus was determined to reach him. The disciples must have been confused. Why cross now? Why head to Gentile territory where Jews weren't welcome? But they trusted Jesus, so they set sail as darkness fell over the water. Then came the storm, and not just any storm. This was so violent that even experienced fishermen thought they would die. Waves crashed over the boat. Wind howled like a wild animal. Water filled the boat faster than they could bail it out.
Teacher, don't you care if we drown?
They shouted to Jesus, who was somehow sleeping through this chaos. What happened next still amazes us. Jesus stood up, faced the raging storm, and said simply,
Quiet, be still.
Immediately, the wind died down and the waves became completely calm. The disciples stared at each other in shock.
Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him.
They asked, was this just bad weather or something more? Think about it. Jesus was on a rescue mission to free someone from demonic control. Would evil spirits just let that happen without a fight? The storm looks a lot like spiritual opposition trying to stop Jesus from reaching that shore. By calming the storm, Jesus wasn't just showing his power over nature. He was warming up for the bigger battle ahead. If weather obeys him, what chance do demons have? When they finally reached the other side, it was dawn. The timing matters. Darkness was literally being pushed back by light, just like what was about to happen in the spiritual realm. The shoreline they approached wasn't welcoming. It was Gentile territory, a place filled with tombs, pigs, unclean animals to Jews, and according to local reputation, dangerous demonic activity. No wonder the disciples looked nervous. Why had Jesus brought them to such a place? Then they saw him, the wild man running toward them from the cemetery. Scarred, screaming, the disciples probably reached for their oars, ready to push back into the lake. But Jesus stood his ground. This is what reveals Jesus' heart. He had crossed a dangerous sea, pushed through a deadly storm, and entered enemy territory. All for one person everyone else had abandoned. In God's eyes, no soul is expendable. No person is too far gone. No one is beyond his reach. And Jesus will cross any barrier, cultural, geographical, even spiritual, to rescue those held captive by darkness. That's why he came to earth in the first place. That's why he crossed the sea that night. And that's why he still pursues people today who think they're too broken to be loved. What scares someone who specializes in causing fear? What terrifies the beings who spend their existence tormenting others? We're about to find out in this amazing moment when Jesus comes face to face with evil itself. As Jesus stepped onto the shore, the demon-possessed man ran toward him. But something strange happened. Instead of attacking, the man fell at Jesus' feet. The same wild man who broke chains and terrorized travelers suddenly dropped to the ground like a servant before a king. The demons inside him knew exactly who Jesus was. They didn't need an introduction. Through the man's voice, they cried out,
"What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?"
Notice how they used his full title. They recognized his true identity and power immediately. Then came the words that reveal what truly scares demons.
"Have you come to torment us before the appointed time?"
This question shows something amazing. Demons know judgment is coming. They know their days are numbered. They understand better than most humans that a day of reckoning awaits them. When Jesus commanded them to leave the man, they didn't argue about whether they should go. They knew Jesus had absolute authority over them. Instead, they begged about where they would go.
"Don't send us into the abyss,"
They pleaded. The abyss isn't just any place. It's a spiritual prison where evil spirits are confined before final judgment. This is what terrifies demons more than anything. Being locked away, unable to cause harm, waiting for their final punishment. These demons would rather go anywhere else. Looking around desperately, they spotted a large herd of pigs feeding on a nearby hillside.
Send us into the pigs.
They begged.
Let us enter them.
Why would demons want to enter pigs? Because they desperately wanted to stay in our physical world. They wanted to remain active, to keep causing destruction. Being sent to the abyss would end all that. Jesus gave them permission with a single word: go. Immediately, the evil spirits left the man and entered about 2,000 pigs. What happened next proves their true nature. The entire herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. This reveals something crucial about evil spirits. When they couldn't destroy the man anymore, they destroyed what they could. Their nature didn't change. Only their target did. They are destroyers, whether they inhabit people or animals. Jesus allowed this dramatic demonstration for an important reason. Everyone could now see the reality, number, and destructive power of what had been tormenting this man. The drowning pigs made visible what was previously invisible. Now no one could deny what had happened or the miracle Jesus had performed. The townspeople counted about 2,000 dead pigs floating in the water. That's how many demons had been tormenting one man. Imagine thousands of evil voices in your head, thousands of evil wills fighting against your own. No wonder no chains could hold him. This confrontation shows us what demons truly fear: the authority of Jesus and their coming judgment. They recognized him immediately. They begged for mercy. They knew resistance was pointless. In the presence of the Son of God, even the fiercest evil must bow. Think about waking up to find that your family's main source of income just disappeared overnight. That's exactly what happened to the pig farmers in the Gerasene region. When word spread about what happened at the lakeside, people rushed to see for themselves. What they found was shocking. 2,000 pig bodies floating in the water. Years of breeding, raising, and investment gone in an instant. For a farming community, this wasn't just an odd event. It was an economic disaster that would affect many families. Standing near this scene was a man they all recognized, but he looked completely different. The wild-eyed madman who used to terrorize their region now sat calmly, dressed in borrowed clothes, talking with Jesus. His eyes were clear. His voice was normal. His wounds were healing. So what did the crowd focus on? The amazing transformation of a tortured soul? The miracle of complete healing? No. Mark 5:16, 17 tells us,
Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region.
Instead of celebrating this man's freedom, they counted their losses. They asked Jesus to leave. Just think about that choice for a moment. They had the Son of God in their village, the healer, the miracle worker, and they asked him to go away because of pigs. We can understand their concern from a purely practical standpoint. This herd represented significant wealth. Pigs were valuable livestock, especially in Gentile regions where eating pork wasn't forbidden. Many families probably depended on these animals for their livelihood. But Jesus allowed these pigs to be destroyed without a second thought when weighed against saving one human life. He didn't hesitate. He didn't negotiate. He permitted the demons to enter the pigs because restoring this one man was worth more than all those animals combined. The dramatic end of the pigs served another important purpose. It made the miracle undeniable. No one could claim the man just got better on his own, or that Jesus used some trick. The evidence of what had tormented him was floating right there in the lake for everyone to see. For the healed man, the price was absolutely worth it. After years of living in darkness, cutting himself with stones, and screaming in torment, he was finally free. His body was his own again. His mind was clear. He could return to his family, rebuild relationships, and start a new life. But this whole incident forces us to confront our own values. What matters more to us? Economic interests or human restoration? Material possessions or saving a soul? In God's economy, people always matter more than things. A single human soul carries infinite value because we alone bear God's image. Jesus made that clear. He crossed a violent sea just to reach one tormented man. He allowed an entire herd of valuable property to be lost just to set that man free. To Jesus, the math was simple. One soul is worth more than 2,000 pigs. This story invites us to examine our own hearts. Do we sometimes value possessions more than people? Are we more disturbed by financial loss than we are moved by spiritual healing? The townspeople asked Jesus to leave. His presence disrupted their comfort. But the man who was healed, he begged to follow him. Because in one encounter, Jesus gave him everything back. And maybe that's the question we're left with. When Jesus steps into our lives, will we ask him to leave or beg to follow? Now, we're about to discover something even more surprising. What Jesus planned for this newly freed man. When the man begged to follow Jesus, you might expect Jesus to welcome him aboard the boat. Instead, Jesus gave him a mission that would change everything. This reveals how freedom from darkness always comes with a new responsibility that can transform entire communities. We've witnessed Jesus' incredible power over evil. But have you ever wondered what happened when this same Jesus faced his own darkest moment? The one who commanded demons with a word eventually hung on a cross, his body broken. What physical agony did he actually feel? The medical truth behind his suffering will shock you. There's something most people don't know about the crucifixion, a pain deeper than the nails that made Jesus cry out words that will change how you understand his sacrifice. Don't miss this powerful revelation. Click the video on your screen now to discover what Jesus truly endured for you.